it's Mick from NYC Votes and the New York City Campaign Finance Board here to talk to you about ranked choice voting. This is your voice, your choice, ranked choice voting in action. Let's get started. NYC Votes is the voter engagement initiative of the New York City Campaign Finance Board. We focus on reaching New York City voters, especially those who are underrepresented in the electoral process, and equipping them with the resources they need to participate in local elections. We do this by registering people to vote, providing election information and materials like our voter guide, which we proudly print in 13 languages in addition to Braille, and educating community members and discussing barriers to voting. Speaking of education, let's talk ranked choice voting. What is ranked choice voting? So glad you asked. Think of ranked choice voting as a buffet of democracy. So voters can rank up to 5 candidates as opposed to ranking just one. Instead of choosing just one candidate, voters can rank up to 5 in order of preference. By ranking up to 5, you're more likely to have your choice reflected in the final outcome. The votes are calculated in rounds. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. When do we use ranked choice voting? We use it in special and primary elections for city offices. So we're going to use ranked choice voting for mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. We are not going to use it in the general election in November. We're not going to use it for federal or state races like president, Congress, or governor. And we're not going to use it for local races like district attorney or judgeships. How does it work? Let's look at this sample ballot here, in which we are to rank our favorite color. We have 6 choices here, and we can rank up to 5. So we'll pick our first choice candidate on the left, completely fill in the oval next to their name under the first column, and then if we have a second choice, we'll fill the oval in next to their name under the second column. We can rank up to 5, but you don't have to rank up to 5. You can still choose to vote for only one candidate if you prefer. But in this ballot, we voted for 5. We ranked green first, blue second, purple third, yellow fourth, and orange fifth. So in the sample election, let's say 100 people participated in voting for their favorite color. In round 1, when we are counting the votes, all of the first choice votes are counted. Everyone's first choice vote is counted. Looking at this, we see that in this election, none of the 6 candidates received a majority. In order to win this election, you have to receive 50% of the vote, or majority of the vote. There may be an instance in an election somebody wins in the first round because they receive 50% of the vote, but not in this one. So we see that the orange candidate is in first place with 30 out of the 100 votes cast, or 30%. But we don't have a majority, so counting will continue in round 2. What happens in round 2? In round 2, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated. So yellow only received 5 votes, so they are no longer in the counting process. Those 5 votes for the yellow candidate move on to each voter's second choice. So whoever ranked yellow as their first choice ranked either orange, blue, or purple as their second choice. So those candidates gain those votes. Orange is still in first place though, now with 32 votes. So we have to go to round 3. So in round 3, we see that the green candidate is now in last place with 10 votes, so they are eliminated next. The 10 votes for the green candidate then move on to the next highest remaining choice on each voter ballot. So people who voted for green also ranked orange, blue, and purple. So those candidates gain votes. The orange candidate is still in first place now with 35 votes, but we still don't have a majority. So in round 4, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated. This time it's pink, in last place with 16 votes. Those 16 votes for the pink candidate move on to the next highest remaining choice on each ballot. So we see that purple and orange candidates have both gained votes. Nobody has voted for blue in this round, but orange and purple have gained votes. Purple is now in the lead with 46 votes, but we haven't reached 50% yet, so we have to go to our final round of counting. So in the final round, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, which was the blue candidate, in last place with 17 votes. Those 17 votes for the blue candidate move on to the next highest remaining choice on each ballot. The purple candidate now has 52 votes, which means they have reached the majority and is now the winner. So that is how votes are going to be counted in ranked choice voting. Couple of things to keep in mind. Be sure not to give multiple candidates the same rank, because if you do, it won't be clear who you intended to vote for, and this invalidates your ballot and your vote. But don't worry, if you make a mistake on your ballot, you can ask a poll worker for a new one. Also be sure not to rank a candidate more than once. If you do, only your highest ranking candidate will count. Also be sure not to rank a candidate more than once, because if you do, only your highest ranking candidate will count, You are not given 5 votes, you're just given an opportunity to rank 5 of your choices. So why would we use ranked choice voting? Whose idea even was it to use in elections? It was ours. New Yorkers voted to use ranked choice voting in a 2019 ballot measure, and it passed with 73.5% support. It's here because voters chose it, not candidates or special interests. This is actually going to be the second election that we will be using ranked choice voting. We first used it in 2021, and we have used it in special elections. And ranked choice voting benefits us as voters because we get more say in who gets elected because we are not beholden to one choice. Candidates are more likely to appeal to voters and not attack each other, and voters also get to elect a more diverse and representative field of candidates. Okay, quick quiz question to see if you've been paying attention. Yes or no? Is it required for you to rank all 5 candidates on your ballot? Nope. You can rank up to 5, but if you only have 1 choice or 2 or 3 or 4, you can rank those as well. You don't have to use all 5 choices. So, what are we voting for and when? We know how to use ranked choice voting. We know we're using it in the primary. We know that there's a general election coming up. But what are we voting for? What's going on? We are voting for a lot this year in New York. We are voting for comptroller, borough presidents, mayor, public advocate, 51 city council members, in addition to some DA races. There is a lot of stuff on the ballot this year. So let's talk about the types of elections. I mentioned that in June we have a primary election. A primary election is where you get to decide which candidate will be your nominee in the general election. So in New York, these usually take place in June. A general election is where candidates from different parties compete to win elected office. The winners of the primary elections represent their party in the general election. These are held on the first Tuesday in November. So in the primary election, we're choosing our candidates for different party lines, and in a general election, everybody is on the ballot. This year in New York, there's only a Democratic primary election. New York has what's called closed primaries, which means you have to be affiliated with a political party in order to vote in the primary election. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We also have special elections, which are held when an elected official leaves office before the end of their term. So, as mentioned, we have an upcoming primary election, which is on June 24th, with early voting starting on June 14th, running until June 22nd. That is when we will be using ranked choice voting to vote for mayor, public advocate, city comptroller, borough presidents, city council. We won't be using ranked choice voting for district attorneys and judges, but we will be using it for all of the other things mentioned. And then in November is our general election, which is on November 4th. Early voting starts October 25th and runs until November 2nd. Fun fact, if you vote on Halloween, there is a very high chance that you get a very, very special I voted sticker. So maybe you want to vote on Halloween. And that's when we will be voting for everything else listed: mayor, public advocate, comptroller, presidents, city council, district attorney, and judges. So pop quiz, just to make sure you're paying attention. Which office does not use ranked choice voting? Is it city council, public advocate, mayor, borough president, or district attorney? It's district attorney. Everything else will be using ranked choice voting in primary. Registering to vote in New York State is actually pretty easy. You have to be a U.S. citizen. If you are 16 or 17, you can pre-register to vote, which just means that when you turn 18, you already know that you can confidently walk to the polls, or otherwise you can just be 18 or older to register, and you have to have a mailing address. You can fill out a voter registration form on paper at an NYC Votes event or a community event or at a library, or you can complete it online at e.register.vote.nyc. So let's walk through a voter registration form. First, be sure you are filling out the form in blue or black ink. The first question is going to be, are you a citizen of the United States? If no, you are not able to register to vote. If you are registering other people to vote and are using this form, just use discretion, as you may not know anybody's citizenship status. If they are 16 or 17, they can pre-register to vote, which I mentioned earlier. And then if not, then they just check off that they are 18. The next section regards name and birthday. The only things you have to fill out are first name, last name, and birth date. Phone, gender, and email are completely optional. The next part of the form has to do with your address. As mentioned, you just need a mailing address. So if you're experiencing houselessness, you can use a shelter, a school, the address of a friend or a relative, another location, a library. All of those are okay for you to use in order to register to vote. You just have to have an address where you can receive mail as well. Those addresses might be different, which is why there are 2 different questions, but if you live in the same place that you receive mail, you don't have to, if it's the same as above, you can skip it. The next portion of the form regards voter information. So if you've changed your address or your name or your political party, you need to fill this out. If you've moved even a block, if you've gotten married, if you need to change your political party, you have to fill out the form again. But if you're registering for the first time, this section you can skip. The next part is identification. You can choose to use either your license or state ID number or the last 4 digits of your social. If you don't have either of those, that's okay. You can check that you don't have that. You just have to make sure that you're bringing documentation of your identification to your poll site when you go vote. That can be bank statements, an NYC ID, a utility bill. They're all acceptable. Just be sure to bring a combination of documents to make sure that you can vote. The last portion of the form regards political party. So choosing a political party is completely optional. These are the ones that are available in New York. But in order to vote in a primary election, you have to register with a party. And then we have these optional questions at the end of the form where you can check off if you need to apply for an absentee ballot, which I will talk about in a little bit. But if you need to vote by mail for any reason, you can check that off. This does not enroll you in receiving an absentee ballot, but it does alert the Board of Elections that you would like to receive information about an absentee ballot. You can check off receiving information of becoming an election day worker. We love our election day workers. We love all of the kind and dedicated people who dedicate their time to making sure that our poll sites are running smoothly. They are so fantastic and they get paid, and you can have the opportunity to become an election day worker as well and earn up to $2,800 if you do all of your trainings and participate in early voting shifts. And the last part of the form is the signature. If you help somebody else fill out their form, which you are totally welcome to do, they must sign it themselves. There are 3 ways that you can cast your ballot in New York State. So you can vote on election day, you can vote in early voting, or you can engage in absentee voting or voting by mail. On election day, which is Tuesday, June 24th, for the primary, polls are going to open at 6 a.m. and close at 9. You have to vote at your assigned poll site, and it might change, but you can go to findmypollsite.vote.nyc and find all of the information you need. If you are busy on election day, you can engage in early voting, which starts on Saturday, June 14th and ends on Sunday, June 22nd. Be careful though, because your early poll sites and election day poll sites are usually different, and the hours kind of vary, so make sure you just check your poll site and confirm their hours before you go. And there is no early voting on Monday, June 23rd. You can also vote by mail. If you have literally any reason that you will not be able to be at your poll site, you can request an absentee ballot. If you don't have a reason, you can still request an early mail ballot. You have to do this by June 14th, either online or the Board of Elections has to receive that by mail by June 14th. But only do this if you plan to use it, because due to a new state law, if you choose to vote in person after requesting a mail ballot, you'll have to vote with an affidavit ballot at your poll site, and that's kind of complicated. So just be sure that if you're going to choose this option that you're going to use it and you're not going to vote in person. When you complete your ballot, you're going to fill it out with blue or black ink. Make sure your choices are filled in correctly. You're going to place it in the envelope. Seal the envelope. You're not going to have to use any postage, and you can either drop it off in a mailbox, a post office, or at your poll site or local Board of Elections office until 9 p.m. on Election Day. What are your rights as a voter? If you are on the blindness spectrum or have a disability that requires you to fill out an accessible ballot that can be read by a screen reader, you can request an accessible ballot by using nycabsentee.com or calling the number below. You have the right to vote in your language. We don't print our voter guide in 13 languages for nothing. New York is an extremely diverse city. You can bring an interpreter to the voting booth. It can be a friend, a family member, or a poll worker. It just can't be your employer or union representative. The New York City Engagement Commission provides language assistance in several languages, and you can look that up at participate.nyc.gov/processes/votes. You can also request to use a ballot marking device with audio that can help you in Chinese, Bengali, Spanish, and Korean. You also have the right to vote regardless of your history within the criminal legal system. Those in pretrial detention can vote through the absentee process, working with the program staff at the facility they are being detained in. Those in jail for a misdemeanor can vote through the absentee process, working with their program staff. People who are incarcerated for a felony cannot vote, but immediately have their voting rights restored upon release. Just be sure to re-register, which we all know how to do now. And if someone is on parole or on probation, they can also vote. The bottom line is, if you are not currently incarcerated for a felony, you have the right to register and vote in all city, state, and federal elections. And that wraps my presentation. I'm Mick from NYC Votes. I hope you enjoyed learning about ranked choice voting as much as I enjoy talking about it. If you have any additional questions or want to try a sample ballot or access our voter guide digitally, be sure to check us out at nycvotes.org. Happy voting, and I'll see you at the polls.